What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing this Wednesday? I see we got a lot of the regulars. Do you guys care if I do the call outs or not? It just seems like so routine. Um, Anyways, just was talking with one of our packaging companies we work with. We're trying to optimize things here in the shop better, so we're getting fancy machines that cut and crumple paper. So my childhood is dead. Um, anyways, um, yeah, I do not have. Ooh, that's a good. They're empty. It's. He heard me touch. I literally touched the bag. He's in the garage. They're empty. He's in the garage over here, just like. Was it dead? What do you got? What do you got, Dad? He was drinking water. Anyways, so. Yeah. So we're back with another live stream. I got my little furry idiot here who is now 72 pounds, and we aren't even 6 months old now. What are we, like 5.5? We'll be 6 months on the 29th. So we're a big boy already. We almost weigh as much as our sister. So anyways, just some updates here. The progress on the EasyBoard V2 is moving along. I just sent over some test firmware to our engineer Griffin. He's going to get that into a machine and start doing test prints. I'm going to be getting it into our test machine here tomorrow. So we're going to plow ahead and get a couple weeks of testing under there. I'm very confident that the hardware is not going to have any issues because we were able to build off of the existing V1 that has had no hardware problems. So it's just more of a me covering my ass kind of thing and making sure we don't put out stuff that's broken because nobody likes that. But anyways, what else? There was something else. Oh, Jerry, who is in the chat, he is going to be doing a giveaway stream. I'm going to pull up his message because I want to make sure I get the time right because he told me. And I know he sent it in a time zone. So he's doing a giveaway stream on his YouTube channel. He just reached 2,500 subs, so congratulations, Jerry. And it's going to be Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So, and we are giving him an Easy ABL Pro Kit to give away. So make sure you guys go check that out. That's at Saturday at 1 p.m. Let me see if he scheduled his stream. Let me see. I know Jerry. Oh, July 3rd. You said Saturday. Okay, so next Saturday, not this Saturday, next Saturday. Where's your channel, Jerry? Searching 3D printing and painting, or is it 3D HP? No, it's 3D printing and painting on here. Jerry, you really need to schedule your streams so people have like what we do with this. I try to schedule them. Definitely schedule your stream because then you can share the link out. So just a little YouTuber pro streamer tip there. I don't take myself that seriously on YouTube, if you guys haven't figured that out. Anyways, I think that's about it. We're plugging away on the Chiron. I'm plugging away on updates for our Unified 2. We're setting the next version that we're going to be updating to Marlin 209. I'm just looking at my folder here because when the new release comes out and I'm going to update to it, I pulled down a copy and I can see here on 430 I pulled down 208. On 522 I pulled down 2081. On 6.1 I pulled down 2082, and then today I pulled down 209. So they're doing a more rapid release schedule, so I'm gonna have to just be like, we're cutting off at this certain version and focusing on that one and refining it and then keeping the updates. But there's a lot of new changes, like I said, from 2072, which is what we were currently on, to just 208, but now they're on 209. So I talked to Scott, and it looks like they're trying to stick to about a 2-week release schedule. So there'll be at least a patch, like a minor version update on Marlin every 2 weeks is what they're trying to do. There's no official release schedule, but that's what he said they're trying to do. And it looks like they're hitting that because I keep seeing these releases. I'm like, dang it, I haven't even finished updating to the last release. So I went ahead and updated the giveaway form. I thought I had set it last stream, like the end of last stream, I set it to like shut off 15 minutes after the stream ended, and then I changed it, but apparently I must have closed the tab out too quickly because it did not actually save the changes to the what was I looking for? To the form settings. So my apologies for that. Anyways, oh yeah, one last thing. The hats. You guys keep asking me about the hats. We have a limited run of 100 of these exact hats, this exact one, coming in. We should have them, I'm showing anywhere between July 1st to July 6th is the ETA, and these will not be drop shipped like our merch, like our shirts and stuff that I'm wearing. Those are all shipped through Teespring. Since the hats are a single size, I went ahead and just ordered a bulk of them, and we will be shipping those, and they'll be available on our website, not on the Teespring store, but directly on our website. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go ahead and add that to your wish list. I did put the page up there with the details of when they're going to be released. And if you add it to your wish list, you will get an email from our website when I actually add stock to them. So if you're interested in them, you can get them at the link here. I just posted that in chat. And let's get to it. Let's see what questions we have. And I apologize for the delay. I was, like I said, I was stuck on a call trying to coordinate some shipping things. So I'm kind of excited to get a paper cutter dispenser thingy. So, because we're manually crumpling all the paper that we pack our orders in, and it's very time consuming. So, Ram Design looks like he has the first question. He said, I purchased a second Chiron and the red plastic plug from the wiring loom hot end that plugs into the base is cracked. Is there a supplier for the connector? I'm not sure, because I'm assuming you're talking about this plug here. And this is why I don't like these harness style connectors. They make assembly quicker, and I'm sure they make assembly quicker on the manufacturer's end, but the problem is when these little plugs get damaged or they break, it's very hard to find replacements for them, especially since all the colors, except for like, what is it, like 2 wires on here? Yeah, except for like 2 wires, they're all black. So versus a standard wiring harness, you can, you know, figure out what wires go where. That's why I'm not a big fan of like these kind of connectors. I don't necessarily want to call it proprietary. It's probably a standard connector. I'm just not familiar with the brand name of it. Maybe someone else has an idea. Let me pop this camera on. I don't usually turn this one on for the live streams or for the Ask Tims, just because it's usually just me talking and screen sharing. But maybe somebody can, maybe they'll know what this connector is. So let's switch over here. So this little guy here, this is the only red one, so I'm assuming this one you're talking about. What is this, like a... It's like a 16 pin? Is it 16 pin? Can I count? Yeah, this is a 16 pin. It's one cable. So, you know, imagine trying to replace this and bypass this. You're going to have to probe out all these wires because most of them are black except for 2. I don't see any brand name on here. Let me look with my eyes. I'm looking at my camera right now. It does say there is a mark on the plug. It says KLDZ A3. You guys see that? KLDZ A3. That's the only identifying marks on this plug as far as I can tell, unless I missed them. Let's take a closer look here. I don't see any other plugs. It looks like a 2.54 millimeter pitch, like your JSTs would use. So, I actually had one of the pins back out of this cable on me, and I had to shove it back in. I don't know if any of them are backing out again, but yeah, in general, I don't like the least amount of connectors on a machine, the better, because every time you add a connector, whether that's the manufacturer adding it or you guys adding something because you want a quick disconnect, you're adding another point of failure into your cables, and I like to keep things simple. I would rather deal with a continuous length of wire, and, you know, if I got to make a repair, I'll cut and splice and solder it. You know, that's just my take on it. do whatever you want with your machines. I'm Googling that KLDZ connector 16 pin. I'm not getting much. Kershaw says it looks like a JST-GH. I'm willing to bet. I mean, JST makes a lot of different plugs. I'm looking up JST-GH. It almost looks like a double row JST-GH, but slightly different. I'm looking at the pictures of the JST-GH. They look similar, but not identical. So, you having fun back there? Just give him like 5 minutes and he'll find the most annoying squeaky toy so you guys can all enjoy the sound of his people. So, anyways, let's get to it. So there was our first question. Hopefully you're able to find that. Let me know if you do. I haven't heard of many people having those break, but you know, I'm not a fan of plugs. Like the less plugs, the better. Yeah, that's just my my opinion on that. So keep things simple. There we go. Chat jumped. I was waiting for that. Kyle Fegley Viper. Oh, you updated your thing so I know your Viper in the Discord. That's appreciated. Let me see here. I'm going to the live streams channel, see if anybody posted. Nobody posted anything in the live streams channel. Well, I have it open. So anyways, so Kyle asked, do you know someone I can use? To print a fan duct for my Siritan S5? If it's not a complicated one, I could take a little one-off print. We do have our print farm running at about 70% capacity right now. Well, not capacity, but in terms of how smoothly things are running, we're about 70% of the way there. But I do have, so I'm no longer using my machines in my office to do the bulk of the parts, so I do have some idle machines. If not, I know you're on our Discord server. The user Top Hat Waffle, that's my brother, Doug. He has a website, thw3d.com, and he does print requests, but he's in the current process of moving. I don't know if he's still like running his little Etsy shop and print services, but you can always send him a message either on Discord or just send him a message with he's got like a form on there. You can tell him what material you want and upload files. We do still have the print farm section on our website. It still says we're not accepting print requests. We should be opening up print requests in the next couple of weeks again. So, MacGyver's asking, will the EasyFlex 2 for the Ender 2 be back in stock? We will not be making Ender 2 size flex plates anymore. There are no printers that use, well, no printers that are popular, I should say, because there probably are some, that use a 165 by 165 bed, and they were a very slow seller, so we will not be making 165 by 165 plates. I'm just checking our B stock page because I think we do have some 165 plates and magnets available, and they are deeply discounted right now because that's a discontinued product model. And you can get yourself, we have 2 smooth plates left, and there's like 6 magnets for the 165, and you can get a magnet and a plate for like $10 because they're discontinued products. But as far as I know, we just took those off because we didn't want to have those on our reorder list, because we weren't planning on reordering. But there are a few on the B stock page. I'll post a link here. Many of you guys may not know, so like we used to have people email us for like B stock. B stock is basically stuff that's for the flex plates. It's usually stuff that came in that has cosmetic blemishes that we would not sell as new, but are fully functional. Eventually, we're going to add other stuff, like we have some easy ABL kits and stuff that we need to retest and package, and those will get sold as B stock because they were like a customer return where someone's like, well, it doesn't work, and we tested it, it does work. You know, that's usually the case. If we get an easy ABL return, it's somebody wasn't following directions, and you know, they're like, well, I just want to return it. So but basically that one page is where we're going to have just a drop down list, and I can just screen share. I don't know why I'm sitting here explaining the page when I can just show you. But yeah, you can see here, and I'll make this bigger for you so you guys can see it because I know my monitor resolution is a little high. But you can see here, these are all the different stuff, and this is not stuff that will get restocked. So you can add it to your wish list, but like, you know, we're out of stock on a lot of these sizes, but we do have like 235 smooth plates. These are B stock ones. Where I know we have like, I got to add a texture. We have one 508 textured plate that needs to go B stock because it's got a blemish on the back of the plate, and I know someone will complain about that, so that'll get B stocked. But if you don't mind getting stuff that, you know, has little cosmetic blemishes on it, but otherwise works, you know, like a new one, you can save a lot of money. You can see here the prices are deeply discounted. So this is the price of the original plate, and this is what we have them discounted to. So, and you can just see what we have at any given time. But yeah, for the Ender 2, it looks like we literally have 2 of those plates left, and there's a couple of the magnets as well. So just wanted to point that out. Don't know if you guys were aware of that, and I will post a link in the chat there. So yeah, sometimes we have to make a decision where we discontinue a certain plate size just because it's not selling very well. And the problem is when we order plates, because we use a big manufacturer to do them for us, we have to order a minimum quantity of each size. So, you know, if I don't think we're going to be able to sell through a couple hundred of one size, we're just not going to run that size because I can't afford to have product just sitting on the shelf not being sold because it's just not a popular size. So, let me see here. 3D printing pays asking if I fly down to Murph next year from Vegas, where would I find to be close? Probably Midway or O'Hare in Illinois. As far there's no like to give you an idea, we're about an hour and 15 minutes from where Murph is held, which is in Goshen, Indiana. We're in Hobart, Indiana, and the closest airport, like major airport, would be Midway, which is the closest. O'Hare is a little bit larger and not in Chicago. So, but yeah, those two. Let's see here. Vega says he got some rolls of Coax PLA in their PLA Prime. Both say min temp of 215, which 5 degrees more than I run. Any recommendations? I found, and this is in general, especially, and this is not all brands, this is the brands I've tried, which I've tried Printed Solid, I've tried Coax. Well, I print a lot of Coax. Atomic Filament is my, second choice for filament, and those are also made in the U.S. I found that a lot of them made in U.S. PLAs like a higher temperature. I actually run Coax at 230 degrees Celsius, and I get buttery smooth prints out of it. So you can always go down. It will print at 215. I'm not a filament maker expert. That's why we're bringing Coax in to resell them, because I have no interest in running a filament extrusion line. But I think my theory is, just from talking to certain people that know more about it, it seems like the reason for the higher temp is there's less additives in the US made stuff. It's more PLA, actual PLA material, not filler, to kind of thin it out. Which makes sense because PLA does have a higher melting point, but if they're adding in stuff that's got a lower melting point, it's going to bring the overall melting point of the plastic down. Like some of the what's the word I'm looking for? Some of the Chinese filaments I've printed with PLA, they'll print down to like 180 or 190 C, which is really low. And if you take them up to like 220, 230, they get very unhappy. And it prints poorly. So, Tin Man is asking, how's the Ender 6 holding up? Would you still recommend it as a decent Core XY rig? Yes, absolutely. So this was printed on the Ender 6. This is the LCD housing we designed for the Chiron. This is 80 millimeters a second. I just did this at just draft speed, I would say. I usually, if I'm just printing something out to test, and it's not like a final thing, I usually run my prints at 80. So this is what 80 looks like on the Ender 6. And the Ender 6 has not a ton of modifications. It's got our easy ABL, solid bed mounts, and our tough tube. And obviously then the LCD conversion kit that we make. And this was printed with black Coax PLA. So this was a 230 temperature. So 0.2 layer height, printed face down on our Easy Flex. I love using the Easy Flex texture to print our LCD housings. It just gives it a nice look. So yeah, I've been very happy with the Ender 6. So, and this is a case for the 128/64 style screens that we're going to be using to do the retrofit. And you can see here, we've even got it so it'll take the stock bolts for the Chiron. And that's why this machine's here. So after I get off the stream today, I'm focusing on getting our firmware updated, because once I get our firmware updated, we can start adding new machines to it. So, sorry, my pressure in my ears is off today. Give me one. You guys ever have that where the pressure's off in your ears? You got to kind of like pinch your nose and like breathe in, I guess is the way. to like re-equalize the pressure. It drives me nuts. So let's see. How do I do E-steps on an Ender 5 Plus? So Jonathan Barnes is asking. The answer is it depends. Do you have our LCD kit on it? Because if you do, then you can change it from the LCD screen. If you don't, it's been a while since I've touched that stock screen because I've been using our Ender 5 Plus with our LCD kit here. And I like that printer too. The Ender 5 Plus has been a solid machine. Minimal issues with that. I think on that one, I've swapped the power supply. I put an easy board in just because why not? And easy ABL. Tough tube. So, and I use that one to print ABS. That big bed actually like gets up to 100C. Takes about 8 or 9 minutes, but it prints ABS and it's enclosed. So, oh, Scott's in the chat. Scott, if you want, I will hook you up. You know, anything you need for your, printer purposes, just let me know and I'll send it to you. I got you. So, those of you guys that don't know, Scott is the lead custodian, I think he refers to himself. He's said that before, of Marlin. So, he's the guy that handles all that stuff. And basically, I've told him, if you need anything or want anything for your printers, let us know. I will gladly hook you up. So, and we also support Marlin financially through the GitHub sponsorships as well. So, if you guys have some extra money, toss it his way. You can sponsor him on GitHub. I think he's got a Patreon. Do you have a Patreon, Scott? I'm not sure. I sponsor him through GitHub. So anyways, let's get back on topic here. But yeah, Ender 6, holding up well, prints well. I like it. So, but yeah. What's the next one? What I still recommend is a decent Core X router. Yeah. And he said, he said, I wasn't impressed ever seeing 3D Printing Nerd unbox the Ender 7. I watched Creality's like press release video they did today, about like 20 minutes ago, on the Ender 7, and it looks okay, but I even saw somebody say this on Joel's stream, because I clicked on Joel's stream, I stayed there for about 5 minutes, I saw someone going, why doesn't Creality just focus on making a few good printers instead of putting out a new model every other month? And I could not agree more. I've said this before. I don't get it. Maybe they do it because they know everybody's going to buy the new model, just because they want the next model. I don't know. I think Solvol's doing things a little bit better, because they're focusing on just a few machines and they release one every 6 months, and they're different from each other, so they don't have a lot of overlap on like bed sizes and features. So that makes sense. But having all these different machines that are just slight variations of what they already have that compete with what they already have in their own product line, it just doesn't make sense. So let's see what else is going on here. There we go. Chat jumped. I was waiting for it. I know if I scroll down so far, it's gonna jump. So Gary Rivet, he plugged in a 422 back in Ender 3 Max. All I get is continual beep and the Ender logo on the screen. Any ideas? I would try updating the firmware. You could also rule out if something is messing with it. Just connect power in your LCD screen and see if the board boots up. If it does, something could be causing it to hang. At that point, start plugging things in one by one until you find what device is causing it to hang when it's starting. I've used that methodology for, especially with building computers. You have a bunch of boards. It hasn't happened in a while because things have gotten better. But you'd have where you have a bunch of expansion cards and it's like it hangs or it doesn't post. You pull everything out, go down to the bare metal, and our bare minimum of things plugged in, and start adding them one by one until it hangs again. But if it's hanging up, it could just be a firmware issue. I would try reflashing the firmware. Hopefully the bootloader is still intact. If it won't take new firmware, it could either mean your bootloader's corrupt, or maybe you just have a defective processor on there. It's not impossible. It's rare to get defective CPUs. Even on these cheaper ones like the STM32s or, even the LPCs, but, nothing's impossible. Everything's eventually going to stop working. It's just how life is. So, Marcel is saying, my Ender Max is giving me issues that are many months of use. Now it's extruding It's under extruding at random times on a print. I changed to the blue Capricorn tube and metal nozzle. Okay, so first thing I'm going to tell you, I'm not a big fan of Capricorn. Full disclosure, we have our own competing product, but that's not why I'm not a fan of Capricorn. I'm not a fan of Capricorn because when I got printers with them on there, like Creality printers sometimes come with the Capricorn tubing. When I purchased Capricorn tubing before we had our own, the diameter was very inconsistent on the tubing, where it would get too tight in certain spots because it wasn't a consistent internal diameter. It's not something you're going to really notice unless you literally cut up the entire piece of tube and measure all the diameters, which obviously you're not going to do because then you destroyed the tube. I would say change to the stock tubing and see if the issue goes away. If the issue goes away, it's very simple. You could have a spot in your filament that's a slightly larger diameter than the rest of the roll, and you could be hitting a spot in the tube where it's a slightly tighter diameter and it's causing it to hang up and add additional drag. So, you know, one thing I will say about our tubing, which is our tough tube, that's our competitor to Capricorn, I think we've had one return out of the 15,000 meters we've sold of that tubing over the last couple of years. Like, no joke, we don't get returns on that product. It just works. I've never had an issue. I use it on all of our machines. I've never had issues with tolerances or diameter being off on it. And every single machine here that uses PTFE tubing has it on here. So I would start with that. If that doesn't fix it, actually, I would say do this first. Check to make sure your extruder gear is clean and it has proper tension on the filament. You said Ender, I'm assuming you're saying Ender 3 Max. You just said Ender Max, but I believe the Ender 3 Max, aside from the CR6 Max, is the only Max Ender that Creality makes as of right now. Who knows? They could change their mind and make an Ender 5 Max. But I digress. I believe that has a plastic extruder, does it not? I can't remember. I have our Ender 3 Max, but it's over there waiting to get upgraded and then put into our print farm. Because a common problem with the plastic extruders is that the arms crack and then you lose tension, which is going to give you inconsistent extrusion. I thought that one had a metal extruder on it, though. Yeah, it looks like that one comes with a metal extruder. Like I said, it's hard for me to keep everything straight. I can remember rough details on the machines, but in terms of materials of extruders, I have to look it up most of the time. So, but I would check your extruder gear, make sure it's clean. But the easiest thing to do is just to swap the tubing out and see if the issue goes away. If the issue goes away, it's pretty clear that it's the tubing. So, you know, and while you're playing with the tubing, check your fittings too. So, Sean Collins is the next question. He said, will enabling Z-hop when retracting affect anything else? It shouldn't, assuming your printer is able to move your Z over and over again, because you're going to go from moving only on basically a layer change, or if you have auto bed leveling, you know, slight changes. You could add potentially more issues where it misses a step or something, but in general, no. It shouldn't affect anything. You might get some stringing. I've had Z-hop be hit and miss. Either it fixes stringing or it causes more stringing. It really depends on the material. So, Old Conversion's asking when you expect to have the 24-volt 50-watt heater cartridges back in stock. Yeah, our tough ones. We should have them back in stock in about 2 to 3 weeks. They are on order, and I'll just double check. Because I know we were low on those, and I just placed an order. I'm pulling up our inbound stock tracking. We do have an inventory management system. Yes, I ordered those, and I got 500 coming in. It says our ETA should be the end of the month. I'm going to say, because I ordered those on the 10th, I'm going to say they're probably going to come in about 2 weeks, because I haven't got shipping yet. I did get a message from the supplier that everything from that order was shipping yesterday. So who knows? Logistics are all over the place these days. I can't, you know, if someone put a gun to my head and said, tell me when they're going to come in, I'm like, I have no idea. Might as well just pull the trigger, because I have no idea. You know, it's a crapshoot these days. So next one, John Santiago is asking, is the plate size for the CR10S Pro 310 by 310? No. The physical bed is 310 by 320. You can use the 310 by 310 like flex plate or bed surface because your print area is only 300 by 300. So as long as you put down, print surface or a flex plate in the area that you're printing in, you can use a 310 by 310. If you're asking about plate size because you're looking for like a flex system like our Easy Flex, we do actually have 310 by 320 plate sizes. But like I said, if for some reason we're out of stock on the 310 by 320, you could go with the 310 by 310. Just move your printer to X0, Y0, put a little dot on the bed, move your printer to 300 by 300, put a dot, and then just make sure your plate, when you put it on there, covers those two dots, and you'll cover your print area. It's as simple as that. So, let's see here. Matt Mudib said he got his flex plate in last week. His B stock. Oh, you got a B stock one. Basically like you. It's basically like new. I know. Most of the plates, if you guys see, I've pulled plates off my printers to show them off on streams. Like 99% of the plates in my office are all B stock, where they, are cosmetically blemished. We try to filter out anything that people would potentially complain about, and then they get B stock. So, but I don't care. I'm looking for functionality. So, let's see here. Bob is asking about his Raspberry Pi. He's not able to do updates because it's throttled due to low power. Does the Pi need 5.6 volts to have proper power to it? So, Bob, the issue could be that you're not powering it from an actual power supply. Most people, when they get a Pi, they go, oh, it runs off USB. So they're going to use a phone charger they have laying around. There's a difference between a phone charger and a power supply. Like we sell Octoprint kits that use Raspberry Pi 4 boards, and we ship power supplies with it. The reason you don't want to use a phone charger is because a phone charger is a charger, not a power supply. Yes, it puts out power. Yes, you can use them for 5-volt things most of the time, but the problem is some of them do ramp their voltage down, which when it thinks the battery's full, because it's going to signal back from the phone, some of them are smart in that way. They actually use the data lines. And the problem is the Raspberry Pi gets an under volt. I found to compensate for low voltage, or compensate for voltage drop going over the USB cable. So if you're using a poor quality USB cable, like don't use the one you got at the gas station or you bought at the checkout line at your grocery store. Use a good quality USB cable to power that, because the cheaper cables, let's say your power supply, let's say you have actual power supply, and it's putting out 5.2 volts. Well, after you go over 3 feet of cable, that voltage, when it gets to the Pi itself, may be 4.8 volts because of the loss from the cable being a really thin cable, or maybe it's not copper, maybe it's copper-clad aluminum cable because they were cutting costs. Basically, make sure you're using a power supply and make sure you're using a high-quality cable. You said you're using a 3B plus, so that's going to be a micro USB power connector. Get yourself a proper micro USB power supply. You want a 3 amp output micro USB power supply. So I don't know what you're powering from, but I've gone through I've gone through so many issues with Raspberry Pis and going to power supplies that are good quality. Not using crappy USB cables and not using phone chargers. Those are a lot of issues that cause problems with it. So they get very grumpy. I found it's best to have a power supply output voltage of at least 5.2 volts up to 5.4 at the power supply end, not before it goes over the cable, but not after it goes over the cable, but before it goes into the cable, and having the power supply output just a little bit more than it needs actually ensures then that by the time it gets to the Pi, after it goes over the cable you're using, it's still above 5 volts slightly, so the Raspberry Pi is happy and has enough power to run correctly. So let's see. Scarfire says, I installed the Easy ABL LCD kit on my Sidewinder, and now the printer stutters. It moves and slows down every second or so. Homing or probing shows no stutter, only printing. Are you printing over USB? That'd be my one question. Or are you printing over SD? If you're printing over SD, you could have a bad SD card that's just not feeding the data smoothly. But if you're getting stuttering when you're printing, it's probably over USB. There's a lot of issues where Octoprint gets bogged down and it will not send data over. So if you're printing over USB with the with Octoprint, it's going to cause stuttering. So if you're printing over USB, pop an SD card in the screen and put a G-code file on there, run a print, see if it prints fine with the G-code file. The fact that it's moving correctly on homing and probing tells me you don't have a hardware problem. It's something to do with software. So hopefully that'll give you a direction to go in. We have a Sidewinder X1 here. I think it's a V3. It's the one that takes the other LCD cover style. And it's been running great. We use Octoprint with it. Make sure to use a high quality cable between the printer board and your Raspberry Pi. A lot of issues can happen if you guys are using low quality USB cables, whether they're for delivering power or they're delivering data. Let's see. Superconductor is looking for a recommendation on filament that's more heat tolerant than Sunloop PLA Plus, but not too toxic to be in the same room. Have an Ender 6 and an Ender 3 V2 with all metal hot ends. I mean, it sounds like you're not willing to go to ABS, because ABS, some people are sensitive to ABS fumes. Luckily, I haven't found I am, but just in case, I also have a HEPA filter in my office here, and I also have 2 in the print farm. We got overkill on the filtering out there. I've got 2 units that'll do 2,000 square feet apiece, filtering capacity, and we have about a 600 square foot room. So I would say PETG is probably going to be your best bet. PETG, you basically have your PLAs, your PETGs, and your ABS/ASAs. And then past ABS, you're starting to get into fancy stuff like nylons and polycarbonates and peaks and Ultems, and that stuff gets really expensive real quick, and you need heated build chambers for that really high-end stuff. So what you could do if you're concerned about fumes, you can build an enclosure for the printer to print ABS, and then there's Printed Solid sells these fume extractors. They're like HEPA filters called the BOFA extractors. Terrible name. But, well, maybe the name was out before the meme. But anyways, sorry, tangents. But your best bet would be getting an enclosure and doing a recirculating filter to filter out the ABS fumes. If you don't want to put that much money in, because those filters can be anywhere from $500 to $800, you're basically going to be limited to PETG. So, I don't know how to say this username, but B, I'm just going to call you BH. What could be the reason for BL Touch always glowing red and is always activated, does not fire during the automatic bed leveling? Well, assuming all your wiring is fine and everything is connected correctly to the board, it could be something as simple as you need to tell your firmware, you know, whether you're using Marlin or RepRap or Clipper or whatever, you need to tell your firmware what pin the servo control for the BL Touch is on. If you don't have that set, it's not going to do anything. So on a BL Touch, you've got 5 pins. You've got 2 grounds, you got a 3.3 or 5 volt power, you've got the Z end stop output, and then you've also got a signal line. That signal line needs to go to a pin on your control board, and you need to tell your firmware what pin you connected that to. That pin is responsible for telling the BL Touch to deploy, stow, test, reset, etc. If you don't have that connected, it's just going to sit there and do nothing. So, oh, my ears did the thing again. I drank and this one, like, oh, I hate it. Hang on. Oh, I don't know why that drives me nuts. It just does. It always has. Like, Samantha will be like, why are you sniffing? Blow your nose. I'm like, it's not that. My ear pressure's off. Let's see here. Okay, Scott did say, and obviously I'm a little delayed on chat here. Scott did say he does have a Patreon. Search Marlin firmware on the site. There you go. So, let's see here. When are the LEDs due? They should be soon. I know their production is running. I was just talking to Griffin. Let me pull up his chat here. We're just waiting on the... We're waiting on the boards where he said... oh no, he was talking about parts. I just pinged him. If he gets back to me on while we're streaming, I'll give you guys an update. Let's see. What buck converter do you recommend for powering the RPI 4? I don't really have a recommended one. If I had to go with one, I'd get one that's adjustable with a 3 amp output and set it a little bit higher. We do have, these are in production right now. We do have our own here. This is all preset. I don't know if I showed you guys the whole board. This is the first run. They might look slightly different, but very simple. Put your 12 to 24 volts in here and get a 5 volt output. And this is boosted a little bit, like I was saying, to compensate for what cable you might be using. There's no adjustment on here. It's all preset. You literally plug your Raspberry Pi into here. You can run other stuff off it like a LED, but this is a 5 volt 3 amp output, and we have the output set slightly higher at about 5.25 volts. And this is also fused and has reverse polarity protection as well. So if you flip your positive negative, you're not going to cook it. So but yeah, these past testing, we're running these along with the power adapter PCBs for the Easy Neos to go on the Easy Board V1s. So let me see here. Jerry Brown says, I'm having issues where my printer stops extruding. I've tuned the E-steps as well as PID. It acts like a clog, but once I push a little on the filament, it comes through the nozzle with no problem. Sounds like if you've ruled out, so if the motor's still turning, it's just not feeding, actually coming out the nozzle, you're probably getting a jam, not a clog. So one thing you do to get around jams is, first basic step, if you're getting a jam, you're probably getting too little of cooling on your cold end heatsink. So the heatsink that's above, look at this, my handy dandy thing. This just comes out every stream. So this part here has to keep cool. And if the fan that's blowing across the fins on your hot end, okay, is not moving enough air because it's failing, or maybe you put a Noctua on there that's moving a lot less air than your stock fan would be, you can get what's called heat creep, where the heat from the heater block starts traveling up here and it starts softening up your material above here. It should not get soft above here. It should only start getting soft down here in the melt zone. So like I said, it could either be you put a low flow fan on there because you're trying to get it quieter, or it could just be as simple as your fan's going out because it's old. If that's not the case, the other thing you could try, and if you have an all metal hot end, this is definitely something to try, because all metals are more prone to jamming up than PTFE line hot ends, is print yourself a little filament oiler. If you can't print a filament oiler because it's, not extruding, I've in a pinch just taken the end of the filament, dipped it about an inch into canola oil, and then fed it in. And if it's an all metal, what that's going to do is lubricate the inside of the heat break and hopefully get it nice and seasoned so the PLA doesn't stick to it as well. I feel like we talked about heat breaks on the last stream. Did we? Or am I just having deja vu? But anyways, yeah. Start simple. Start with the fan. Check your fan. Make sure it's actually running, and make sure it's running at full speed. Because sometimes I've had fans where they don't fully go out. They don't make a grinding bearing noise like some do. They're just spinning slower. And if you try to spin the hub, it's got some resistance on it. It should spin freely. So if you just go like this to the fan, it should spin. If you go like this and it just kind of like moves a little bit and stops right away, you probably have a fan that needs to be replaced. So, but yeah, so let's see here. 5.6 volts is too high for a Raspberry Pi, Bob. Whoever told you that is wrong. I believe the max input voltage for a Pi is somewhere around 5.4 volts. The only time you would have to have your power supply putting out 5.6 is if you're using a really crappy cable or a really, really, really long cable, which I don't know why. Basically, if you need to do a long run for power for a Raspberry Pi, in general, run the higher voltage power longer and keep the low voltage, the 5 volt, as short as you can, because the longer the wire from the power supply to the 5 volt end of your Raspberry Pi, the more voltage drop you're going to have. And if, let's say you're powering off at 24 volts, you can go a lot longer distance with less voltage drop on 24 volts than 5 volts. So keep that in mind when you're running when you're powering your Pi. So If someone can look that up, I want to say 5.4 is the, let me see, Res Pi Max voltage input. I believe the low voltage triggers, the okay, so here, right on the Raspberry Pi's specs, the max is 5.25 volts input at the actual plug, and the minimum is 4.75. So, yeah, 5.6. Don't do that. You're way too out of spec. If you're gonna be out of spec on a Pi, it's better to be low, because lower voltage just means it triggers the throttle. High voltage means you start burning things up. So, some characters wanting to put 2 Octoprint instances on one Raspberry Pi. I've said this before. I do not recommend running more than 1 Octoprint instance on a Raspberry Pi. I've had nothing but problems with it. And then plus, if you have an issue with that Pi and it goes down or something, you're taking out 2 printers versus 1. Now, you got to remember, we run more of a production environment, but even before I had TH3 as a company, I had multiple printers, and I still had a separate Pi per printer. Yes, it costs you a little bit more, but it's less headaches in the long run. I don't like cramming a ton of things onto one Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pis are fast, but, you know, they're not that fast. And sometimes you can hit bottlenecks running 1 printer off of a Raspberry Pi with serial data bottlenecks. Let's not compound it and make it worse by having it put out 2 printers, or run out 2 printers. So, let's see here. Jared Brown did say he's using an Ender 3 direct drive Reality clone all metal extruder. Oh, do you have the Micro Swiss knockoff? I had one of our suppliers send us those. Like, no, if that's the knockoff one I'm thinking of, that looks like a Micro Swiss, but it's not a Micro Swiss. Though I had the same issue. They jammed up because the machining is so terrible that it's so rough that the filament just sticks to it. I'd rather run a stock hot end with something like our Tough Tube in there. So, let's see here. But you said you are using aftermarket fan. Look up the specs on your aftermarket fan. I believe we found you need at least 5 CFMs. The fan we sell for the Ender 3, I don't know. Did you say you run an Ender 3? I have no idea what you're running. Oh, yeah, you said Ender 3. Dude, right there. I'm disappointed that I don't know this off the top of my head, but I know the fan we sell is slightly above what we found the minimum was, and our fan puts out 6.7. So right around 6 CFMs is what you need for the proper cooling of the heatsink on an Ender 3 style hot end. So like the CR10, the Ender 5, the Ender 5 Plus, the Ender 6, they all use the same hot end. You need at least 6 CFMs to keep cooling. There's other variables, but in general, if you get a fan that's at least 6 CFMs, you're going to be fine and not have heat creep. If you go below that, you're going to start getting heat creep. So, trying to see here. Someone posted something about connectors. Oh, because we were talking about connectors. Yeah, I don't think those are the same ones as the Chiron uses. They're similar, they look similar, but those they're not going to fit. Let's see, I'm scrolling back up because chat jumped. And there we are, we're back. Jeez, we're almost an hour in already? Damn. I know I started a couple minutes late, but this stream flew by quick. You guys are keeping me busy. I like when you guys have a ton of questions, because I'd rather not answer all of them than wrap the stream up early. Let's see here. Just watch, there's like no other questions. We got one here. So I do have time for a couple other questions if you guys want to put them in the chat. Let's see. NKM says he decided to upgrade his CR10S with CR10 V3 direct drive because of good Prime Day deal. Do you guys recommend any upgrades that I should do to the V3 before using it? You have a CR10S that you upgraded with a CR10 V3 direct drive. Do you mean you have a CR10S V2? I need additional clarification on there, because the CR10 V3 direct, like the CR10 direct drive kit, or did you buy a whole new printer? I need additional clarification. We'll circle back to that one. Let's see here. More chatting. Top at Waffle. Oh, Doug's here. Sometimes with a Pi 3B, I'll get bottlenecks just opening the web UI during a print. Yes, I've had that. I've experienced that before. Do I plan on supporting the big Tree Tech Pro boards in the future? Absolutely not. They can support their own products. You must be new here. I mean, we do offer consulting services. We'll do whatever. We'll help you out with whatever you want. If you pay the hourly charge. But no, I don't want to deal with supporting big Tree Tech stuff. We've had so many, like we have one firmware we put out for the SKR E3 mini series, and the people that have downloaded that firmware, I'm not saying every single one of them, but I've not had so many entitled people contact our support demanding help with somebody else's product just because we have a firmware out, despite that there's multiple notices in the firmware and on the page saying this is provided as is. We just did it just to help you out. There's no support included. Their user base is so entitled, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand why people think it's okay to come to us and demand, not ask, demand that we support somebody else's product. It's insane. We will support our customers. We're not going to support some other Chinese company that you bought a product from that we don't even sell. So, no. It's people like that ruin it, because I don't have, it's not a lack of ability to support their stuff, or, you know, not, by support, I mean putting out software for it. It's more, I don't want to deal with the entitled users that are going to come along with doing something good. You know, no good deed goes unpunished, so to speak. And I don't know if you guys know this, but support people don't work for free. So, yeah, I'm not going to basically pay our technicians to do tech support on another company's board. That just doesn't make good sense at all. So, NCAM, there we go. Perfect timing. So CR10 V3 is a second printer. I mean, me personally, I've said this before, when I get a new printer, before I actually am going to use it, I put REZ-ABL on it. I get rid of the springs, put the solid mounts on it. If it doesn't have a filament sensor on it, I put our EZ out on it, and I update the firmware. And I'm pretty happy with a machine like that. And then as stuff breaks, I'll start upgrading it. You know, like if the hot end has a catastrophic failure, maybe there's a leak and the whole hot end's engulfed in PLA, I'll upgrade it to our tough hot end. But, you know, take your time. You don't need to go balls deep and just completely change everything. My creature comforts I like on a printer, at the bare minimum, are a filament sensor and an auto bed leveling system. And if we're, you know, getting real fancy, flex plate. So those are like if I had to do a top three, ABL, filament sensor, flex plate. Those three things are my must-haves on printers that I'm going to use as my daily driver, so to speak. You know, that's what all these machines have on them here in my office. You know, the Ender 6 is a good example. Very minimally upgraded, solid bed mounts, easy ABL, flex plate. I change out the tough tubing because that's a simple upgrade. I was already messing with the hot end. Might as well change the tubing out. And then that one needed the LCD conversion kit. So, you know, that's just me. Do whatever you want. I generally don't care if, you know, you don't get stuff from us or not. But those are the things I like. Those are the creature comforts I like. You know, we sell all those things. So I would appreciate it if you supported us. You know, and the CR10 V3, we don't have specific CR10 V3 firmware. The CR10 V3 uses the same firmware as the V2 because the V3 is just a V2 with the direct drive. So the only difference in terms of firmware setup of the V2 and the V3 is you just set your E steps to 410 millimeters, or 410 steps per millimeter on the E, and you might have to reverse the extruder direction. So that's, other than that, the printers are identical. I actually have the upgrade kit to convert my V2 to a V3, and I'm going to put that on there. Once I get that on there, I'll have a V3 firmware on our website, which is literally just going to be the V2 with the E steps changed and possibly the extruder direction, because everything else on that machine is identical to the V2. So they just put a E3 Titan on there, which it's a good setup. It's a nice printer. I like the V2. The V2 is not as moddable as the V1, but I don't think it needs as many modifications. The stock cooling setup is great. It works. The stock hot end is good. I think that's a good all-around printer. If you want something you want to tinker with a little bit, but you really just want it to work out of the box and not have to do a ton of modifications, I think the CR10 V2 and the V3 are decent machines. My only complaint is because instead of using one of the boards they already have out, they made a specific board version just for the CR10 V2 and V3. So none of the aftermarket boards directly fit in there. So you can't put like an easy AB, or you can't put like an easy board in there, or even one of the big Tree Tech boards, or even one of Creality's own other boards. That's the only thing that I could legitimately complain about, is like, come on, Creality, you guys have decent boards. They work. Just use the same board in your printers. I don't get why they make a new revision, it seems, for every other machine. Like, standardize on 2 boards. You have a 4-driver one for your standard single extrusion printer, and you have a 5-driver one for ones that do dual extrusion. And you could just make 2 boards. That's it. It'd be great. So, let me see if there's one other question. We got another time for one other question. Let me see if there's another one here. We were talking about the V3. We're talking about entitled Big Tree Tech users. Let's see here. Is there any other questions in here before we wrap this up? And I don't think I have. You know what? I might have some TREATS on the other side of my door here, so I might be able to give Remo one. So let's see. I don't see any other questions, so let me find the TREATS. Yes, I will just say it because people are gonna keep asking. I personally will be at MRF. TH3D will not be setting up a booth. I don't have enough staff we bought 2 booths, so instead of wasting it on, I think the event's going to be kind of underwhelming compared to previous years. If you've never been to MRF, this one might be fun for you, but it's kind of like, why would I want to go on the slide when I've been to Disneyland? Type of thing, but I'm going to go just to see people. So I'll personally be there. Our tech support guy, Peter, if you guys have ever interacted with Peter on our live chat or our email system, he's actually driving in tomorrow. We got him a hotel in town, so he's going to get to meet the team. He's thinking about actually moving out this way from Georgia, so he's going to be able to check out the area as well. Dan, you will get a hug. I will gladly give you a hug. Yeah, so I'll be there just to hang out and shoot the shit, but TH3D will not be officially. Just look for me. I'll be wearing my official TH3D cap. So but anyways, I think that wraps it up. I'm gonna go see if I have a bag of TREATS on the other side so I can give one to Mr. Remo over there. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Oh, I do have a bag. Look at this. He sees it too. Oh. Look at this. It's a dog cookie. Yeah? You want a dog cookie? Yeah? Up. You gotta sit. Touch. Okay. No. Sit. Shake. No. Put it in my hand. Shake. Good boy. There you go. All right. There we go. He is huge. You guys see this? I'll pick him up. I mean, this is just us BSing here. So I'll pick him up. He's got to get all the crumbs. Hey, come here, little monster. Oh, oh God. Oh. Here, let me stand up. There we go. Jesus. He is 72 pounds. So there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. For you guys going to Murph, I will see you there. I'll be there Saturday. I don't know if I'm going to go there on Friday, but I will definitely be there Saturday. So I will see you guys on the next one. I will talk to you all on Discord. That's where you can catch me. I don't spend too much time on social media, but I do hang out in our Discord server. So, oh my goodness, can you be calm for 2 seconds? We're almost done. We're almost done. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Almost lost him there. I'm like a little winded from just picking him up. He is a lot of dog to handle. Anyways, thanks for stopping by, guys. Hope you enjoy the doggo shenanigans, and I will see you guys on the next one. I hope you learned something. As always, happy printing.